We can change how we live our current lives. Does it take some work? Yeah, it does.
Mhm.
Does it take some basic fundamental changes in the ways we think and the things we believe in? Yes, it does. Does it take a willingness to feel vulnerable and give up those survival mechanisms? Yeah, it does. But if we can do all of that, we can live in a life that is so beautiful, so profound, so powerful,
Mhm.
and that's living in principle. The principles I used to believe in when I was actively in addiction, I don't believe in any of those principles anymore. Everything has changed.
What precedent from your past is still trying to dictate your present? Welcome to We Be the Change, your weekly infusion of soul, story, and spark. I'm your host, Colleen Akiko, and that powerful question is the heartbeat of our conversation today. We've all carried patterns from the past. They helped us survive, but now they keep us from fully living. Welcome, my friend and neighbor, Reverend and author Karen Linsley. Her personal journey of how she stepped away from 20 solid years of addiction is a testament to choosing principle over precedent. Join us as we explore recognizing our power to choose and completely step out of addiction into a fearlessly feral life of freedom. I am so delighted to have my friend Karen Linsley, Reverend Karen, here with me today on the We Be the Change. Karen has such a beautiful collage of ways that she serves and models what she knows to be true. It's in everything she does in such a unique and delightful, wonderful way. Karen holds a master's degree in consciousness studies from the Holmes Institute. She's not only an author, which we will be talking about, but also a respected speaker and teacher, a workshop leader, a retreat facilitator, and a Centers for Spiritual Living minister, and a very unique minister at that. She's a person who can effectively slip in between ministers in a congregation, hold everybody together, and help them be prepared for the next minister, which is an amazing gift in itself. So welcome, Karen. Thank you for finally coming. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me, Colleen. I've been pretty excited about this time that we were going to spend together. And I know we've had a couple false starts, but I'm really grateful to be here today.
Yeah, we've gone through some interesting experiences together, and that just seems to be par for the course sometimes.
Yeah.
Karen and I actually live in the same neighborhood.
Mhm.
And I have had the distinct pleasure of breathing with her horses and putting out food for them a little bit. And
Yeah.
that's fun. She's got wonderful horse energy in her home. Well, not inside your home, but near your home. I know they are like your house pets, though.
Well, there have been people who have teased me about one of these days those versions are going to end up being
I know. Well, you do have wonderful pets in your home too, and it's so nice. There's a lot of life with you, and you bring wonderful life energy wherever you go, whether it's to congregations. And I didn't mention that you are also a wedding minister for many, many couples over the years. You've given a wonderful, delicious, wholeness-oriented start in their marriage. And it's just really cool to know that you wear all these different hats and you're so accessible and present for people in so many different kinds of ways. So here you are here with us.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
I remember, I guess I had heard you present a few times over the years. And when I knew you at that level, I somehow got a copy of one of your books, your autobiography. And
Mhm.
I kind of read it without much expectation. I'm like, oh, let me learn more about who Karen is. And as soon as I started reading it, I'm like, well, Karen knows how to write. It was very engaging. I found that your story reflected so many people's stories and some really difficult things that you experienced in the young part of your life and how you made your way through them. I'm wondering if you might kind of give us that as a little bit of a backdrop. There's so much I want you to share, but I want that to be there
Well,
as
thanks.
you share the
All right.
rest.
I
Yeah.
can do that. So
Yeah.
Colleen is speaking about my second book, which is called The Girl Who Cried Woogie. It's an autobiography, and Woogie is a nickname that I was given early on in my recovery from alcoholism. And please know that when I say alcoholism, it's really addiction because I'm addicted to everything. But where I got my recovery from was through alcoholism recovery. And I wrote that book because many, many, many people told me I needed to after hearing my story. So, long story short, I started drinking when I was 12, and it was not because I liked to party, it was out of self defense. Of course, at that age, in that time, this would have been, let me see, I'm going to do the math in my head and count on my fingers. That would have been the mid to late 1960s. Drugs were much, much easier to procure for a minor. So, yeah, drugs are a part of my story as well. And I proceeded to drink and do drugs for 20 years to the point where I never once had a sober breath during that 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Wow.
yeah, consequently, when I sobered up at 32, I had to learn how to do a lot of things.
Well, yes. And when you said that you drank and did drugs out of self defense, is that what you said?
Pure survival.
I'm thinking about how so many of us have reached for a substance or a behavior or both to numb ourselves, to help us deal with something that we otherwise feel like we can't deal with. And so you did
Yeah.
that solidly for 20 years.
20 years. And I don't know, for me, consciously, numbing myself wasn't really something I even thought about
Mm-hmm.
because of the things that happened. I was already shut down. I
Oh,
was I was already numb. But drinking and using drugs was the only way that I would have been able to survive the things that were going on in my life at the time.
yeah.
I mean, psychologically, because I did. I really shut down. And I have a funny little anecdote for you. I'm friends with a woman who is very, very, very intuitive. She lives on the East Coast.
Mm.
And I came home one day from whatever it was I was doing, and my oven and my stove were not working. And where we live, Colleen, the electricity goes out all the time. Well, I wasn't thinking real clearly. I was kind of frustrated and upset that my oven and my stove weren't working because I had plans for dinner. And my microwave wasn't working. Nothing was working on that side of the kitchen. And it never occurred to me to check my breaker.
Mm.
And meanwhile, this friend of mine from the East Coast who's very intuitive, she called me and she said, I got a hit. Something's bothering you. What's going on? And I told her, and I said, I don't know what's wrong with my kitchen. My stove's not working. And she said, well, something weird? She said, I had a conversation with your father who has passed away. She said, he told me that you lose touch with your body when you are upset or frustrated. And I went, well, that's a very astute observation of him. He never observed that when he was alive, but yes, it's very true because I shut down.
Mm.
It's almost an involuntary thing. It's not as bad as it used to be, and it doesn't last as long as it used to be. And pretty soon I figured out, breaker switch, Karen, breaker switch. Went and flipped the breaker switch. Everything turned back on again. I reset the clock and went on my journey. And so that's part of the deal when stuff happens to us and we literally shut down. Lay people call it numbing out. There's a psychological term for it called disassociation.
Mhm.
And that's what I did. So yeah, drinking helped me survive all of that and function sort of in a world that wasn't real friendly at the time.
Mm.
Yeah.
And somehow we have to show up to function in our society.
Yeah.
So how do we do that when we're not really in our bodies? You know?
Exactly. Well, for me, I learned some survival skills and techniques, and they served me really well for that 20 years when I was basically running the streets. And I just want to insert something here.
Mhm.
We all have stories,
Yep.
whether we're addicts or alcoholics or not, we all have stories. And something that I have learned and that has been proven to me to be true is something that Ernest Holmes said in a book called Living the Science of Mind, by the way.
Mhm.
He says, principle is not bound by precedent. Yeah. What that means in translation into plain lay language is that we live our lives based on principle. Now, the principle is that we can live our current lives based on what happened in the past
Mhm.
or not. We are at choice. The precedent is, of course, what happened in the past.
Yeah.
So we can change how we live our current lives. Does it take some work? Yeah, it does. Does it take some basic fundamental changes in the ways we think and the things we believe in? Yes, it does. Does it take a willingness to feel vulnerable and give up those survival mechanisms? Yeah, it does. But if we can do all of that, we can live in a life that is so beautiful, so profound, so powerful. And that's our principle. That's living in principle. So the principles I used to believe in when I was actively in addiction, I don't believe in any of those principles anymore. Everything has changed. And today, how I live, there's some new thought principles that I believe in, and how I got into recovery was different.
Can I just tag along to what you
Yeah.
said? Because it's so profound and so practical at the same time. And I remember in various difficult situations in my life, coming through them and helping others, sometimes children even,
Mhm.
and hearing these words come out of my mouth that were more to me than to anybody else. We always have a choice.
Yes.
Even feel like there's no choice. I have no choice. This is what happened. This is what happened to me. We always have a choice. And it doesn't have anything to do with how smart we are or how together we are or how good we are at this or that. We always have this choice that you're talking about. It's so simple. It's so simple. And for me, it just starts by saying, okay, I feel like I'm in a corner and I can't get out, but I'm actually at a T and I have a choice, so I'm not stuck.
Mhm.
Stopped here at this intersection and I can choose which way to go. And from there, I seem to settle and it's almost an open door to come back into my body. Say, oh, I'm actually safe enough to make a choice. Let me just take a breath on that for a second. What a relief. Freedom.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad that you mentioned that because it does start, doesn't it, with just a teeny tiny little shaft of light comes in and says, wait, you're not stuck. You have a choice.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Thank you for joining us on this first episode of the series with Karen Linsley, A Fearlessly Feral Life. Tune into episode number 2, where we begin exploring higher yet very practical principles that beckon us towards a happier life. Until then, make sure to check out and access supportive bonus content, fresh resources, and your free e-guide, Out of Your Head into Your Light, at songrise.live. That's SONGRISE.LIVE. I'm Colleen Akiko, your host and Essential Connections coach, and this is We Be the Change, where we dive into the stories that help us connect with our deep awareness, one conversation at a time.